Welcome back into the Sports Source, the segment of our program brought to you by Scramble Jake's Breakfast Company. The folks at Scramble Jake's are planning to reopen for delivery, takeout, and curbside service this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's the plan. Check out their website or their Facebook page for more updated information. These are good folks. Get out there and support these local businesses, so check out their website. They're planning to reopen for those takeout type orders this coming weekend. All right. There's been plenty of talk about pro leagues getting back to playing games at a secure location. No fans, but the teams are quarantined for their protection. College sports doesn't sound like they're going to have that option. This week, a number of commissioners spoke with Vice President Mike Pence, and after that phone call, they have all kind of gone out and said their views on getting back to normal. Let me run through these just so you know where these conferences stand at the moment. First of all, the Pac-12 Commissioner, Larry Scott, said, until our universities feel it's safe for students to come back to campus and participate in activities, there won't be an opportunity for sports. That's the fundamental difference between college and pro sports, all right? Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby was even more straight to the point. Our players are students. If we're not in college, we're not having contests. Done. SEC Commissioner, maybe he left a little wiggle room here, but not much. Every day we're learning more and we have some time to make those decisions, but we do need campuses up and running before we can return to football and the excitement that comes with it. We have to re-engage, and the notion that campuses aren't operating normally and we are going to play big college football games just doesn't seem right. And finally, Bill Hancock, the executive director of the College Football Playoff, said this: we reminded Vice President Pence that we can't quarantine athletes in the way the pros can. People in the industry know that. ADs know that. Coaches know it. I think a lot of fans didn't know that or maybe think of that until today. Simply, right call or wrong call to say no sports if there are no classes on campus?
It's the only call. You know, administrators.
You stole my line. That's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Administrators for so long have said, these aren't employees. These are not employees. We know we don't pay them. They're not employees. And now they're in a situation where they're literally having to put their money where their mouth is, because if you do these kinds of things, stimulating the economy and risking your own health as a choice, those are things that employees do. Those are not things that students do. And so, they've defended this for a long time. I mean, back when I was covering the Big 12, Bob Bowlesby told me I think they have $3 or $4 million a year in the university fund just for legal defenses, because they know these things are coming and they're fighting off lawsuits that say these guys are employees. There's plenty of evidence, but you can kind of keep up the charade that they're not employees. But if you do this, you've basically ceded all ground, and you don't have another choice at this point.
I agree. What do you think?
Yes, David said very eloquently what I would say. I totally agree. It's the right call. It's the only call.
I mean, if you're the problem with it, if you're a college, is and there are people who already think that the scholarship is worthless. Who needs an education? That's worthless. These players need to be paid. I don't go that far. I'm not one of those guys. Nobody puts a gun to these kids' heads and makes them play sports. And there is value in an education. That said, it's a whole other ballgame to say, hey, we don't think it's safe for anybody else, but you guys get out there and risk your lives with this virus because we need the revenue. Come on, get out there. You just can't do it.
No.
Was anybody surprised that these guys were so straightforward about it this week?
A little bit, I think. I mean, I think just these issues, it has to be up to them. Obviously the states are going to decide what they can or can't do, but they're going to be making some of these decisions as states kind of, we're going to see a lot of movement, I'm assuming, in the next few months. The players are going to want to play. The players are going to be gung-ho for all this stuff, and the commissioners and the coaches have to do, what they've got to do. So I was surprised they were that explicit, but I think ultimately that's where everybody figured we were going to land.
Yeah, I think the commissioners there's been a lot of huddling, conferencing, teleconferencing going on with school presidents and people like that, and making very clear what their positions were. So I think these statements were made with that background.
I think it's a little bit of a PR move too, in this sense, that they're already going to be bombarded with questions and second guesses on any decisions they make moving forward. Well, this league's doing this. Why aren't you doing this? All that kind of stuff. I think if they all feel it's going this way, then why don't we all go out and say this? Let's march right out and say it together, and that way we end that conversation. They may attack us for A through Y, but they're not going to get us for Z. We're going to go ahead and kill that conversation now. I wonder if that might have been part of the reason. But I was surprised that you had so many people get off that phone call and say, if we don't have classes, we don't have sports. I didn't expect it to come out that strong.
I suppose it's not great that the people that consume college sports have a tough time dealing or figuring out the difference between college and pro sports also.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's true. And then when you look at coaches making the money they make,
It all looks the same.
it all kind of blurs that line. So, all right, when we come back, VFL, we got a lot of UT stuff to talk about from this point on. VFL Will Overstreet joins us next. We'll ask him, when he was on the Atlanta Falcons, does he think his team would have been okay to quarantine for months and months to play football? Also, we're really going to get his take on UT's potential draft picks. NFL draft's coming up this week, thank goodness. And we're going to get his take on those players. We'll give you our take on those players. Lots more to come on the Sports Source. Come on back.